Um, Receive my warm greetings once again. Welcome back to accounting tutorials for you. So on this video today, we are going to analyze for you or simplify for you, the accounting treatment of a sale of an asset. And of course, a sale of an asset is what you call asset disposal. So an asset can be disposed in three ways. It can be sold for cash, it can be sold on credit, and it can be sold through a trade-in. So let's now look at our situation here. But before we look at our situation, right, I want to give you the three scenarios at which an asset can be sold yet again. So an asset can be sold at the beginning of the year, it can be sold during the year, it can be sold at the end of the year. If the asset is sold at the beginning of the year, you don't have to calculate depreciation for the current year for that particular asset. But if the asset is sold during the year, then you have to calculate depreciation for the time we spent with that asset until it was sold in the current year. Again, if the asset was sold now at the end of the year, that means you have to depreciate the asset for a whole 12 months for the current year. Let's look at our scenario in this regard. So our story here tells us that on the 1st of July 2023, a vehicle which was originally purchased for 100,000 rands on the 1st of March 2021 was sold for 50,000 rands on credit. Once you see that an asset was sold on credit, you know that your debtors control is going to increase there by virtue of that. So when you are doing your step 3 of asset disposal, you are going to say debit debtors control, credit asset disposal with the amount of 50,000 rands, because step 3 is whereby you are recognizing the selling price. Let's look at our accounting policy. Our accounting policy tells us that all vehicles are depreciated at 15% on book value. A book value is also called a carrying value. Again, if an asset is depreciated at its carrying value, that means the depreciation method that the company is using is the reducing balance or the diminishing balance method. Our reporting date is the 31st of December every year. Now, the minute you see that an asset was sold, your responsibility is to determine whether did we make a profit or did we make a loss by selling this particular asset. So let's start with year 1 and get our accumulated depreciation because it's not given, as you can see. Our year 1 is 2021, right? Our cost is 100,000 rands. The asset was bought for 100,000 rands. How much is our depreciation rate? Our depreciation rate is 15% times 15 over 100, right? How long did we have this asset for year 1, which is 2021? This asset, we had it from the 1st of March. As you can see, we had it from the 1st of March 2021. So from the 1st of March 2021 until the 31st of December 2021, how many months is that? March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. It's a total of 10 months. So we're depreciating this asset for year 1 for 10 months times 10 over 12. Our depreciation for year 1 is 12,500. We are done with year 1. Let's go to year 2. Our year 2 is the year 2022. 2022. Our cost, of course, is 100,000 rands. But now remember, our depreciation policy is that we depreciate our cars on the book value, also known as the carrying value. So 100,000 minus the depreciation of the previous years, which is 12,500. Then our carrying value at the beginning of the current year, at the beginning of 2022 was 87,500. That's the carrying value at the beginning of 2022. Then you say 87,500 multiplied by 15 over 100 multiplied by... Now, did anything happen to this asset in the year 2022? this asset never had any problem in the year 2022, because like we are told here, we are told it was sold in 2023. So for the year 2022, we had it for the whole year, which means multiplied by 12 months out of 12 months, and our depreciation for year 2 is 13,125, right? Let's come to the current year. The current year is the year 2023. Now, our carrying value at the beginning of 2022 was how much? It was 87. It was 80. Okay, this marker is not make sure, so let's use another one. Our carrying value was 87,500 at the beginning of 2022. How much was the carrying value now at the end of 2022? It was actually so minus 13,125. So the carrying value at the end of 2022 was 74,375. 74,375. Remember, the closing balance of the previous year becomes the opening balance of the current year. So the carrying value at the end of 2022 becomes the opening balance of the year 2023. So at the beginning of 2023, our carrying value was 74,375. How did you get 74,375? You know, the basic and most simplest way to get this would be to say 100,000 minus 12,500 minus 87,500, right? Now that you have your carrying value, say 74,375 multiplied by 15 divided by 100 multiplied by... Now we have to check how long did we have this asset for the current year. This asset was sold on the 1st of July in the current year. So you have to count now from January until the 1st of July to say how many months is that? January, February, March, April, May, June. You're not going to count July because it was sold at the beginning of July. So we had this asset for 6 months in the current year, 6 over 12, which means our depreciation for the current year is 5,578. Now we are almost there. Now we have to get our accumulated depreciation. Our accumulated depreciation is going to be 12,500 plus 13,125 from 2022 plus 5,578 from the current year. The total accumulated depreciation is going to be 31,203. This is our accumulated depreciation at the date of sale. How do we determine whether we made a profit or we made a loss? If the carrying value is bigger than the selling price, we made a loss. But if the selling price is bigger than the carrying value, then we made a profit. Let's get our carrying value. Our carrying value is going to be 100,000 rands, which is the cost, minus 31,203, which is the accumulated depreciation. Our carrying value is actually a total of 68,797. This is our carrying value. How much is our cost? Our selling price. Our selling price is actually an amount of 50,000 rands. Our selling price is 50,000 rands. So when you compare 68,797 with 50,000 rands, you can see that the carrying value is actually bigger than the selling price, which means we made a loss on sale of this asset. How much is our loss? You say carrying value minus the selling price, which is 68,797 minus 50,000 rands, which means our loss is going to be 18,797. There is your loss, 18,797. if you were to be required to do the general journal or to show all of this in the general journal, unfortunately I won't show you, but I'm guiding you. You can write this down. If you are required now to do the general journal to account for the sale of this asset, step 1, you're going to say debit vehicles, credit asset disposal. Apologies. Step 1, you're going to say debit asset disposal, credit vehicles, because we are selling this asset. So debit asset disposal, credit vehicles. How much is the cost? 100,000 rand. That's step 1. Then you go to step 2. Step 2 says you must debit accumulated depreciation and credit asset disposal. How much is your accumulated depreciation? 31,203. That's your step 2. You proceed to step 3. Step 3 says now you must recognize the selling price. How do you do so? You're going to say, how was this asset sold? It was sold on credit. So you're going to say debit debtors control, credit asset disposal by a total amount of 50,000 rands. Then the final step is going to be whereby now you are determining whether you made a profit or you made a loss. And we have already determined that. Now we said we made a loss. A loss is an expense, and expenses always increase on the debit side. So your step 4 is going to be debit loss on sale of asset, credit asset disposal with how much? 18,797.